Episode 8, When No One Told Me About Writing. Hello, friends. Where we come from emails, comment sections, all the way from the recommendation page. It is a pleasure to see you all here again. This is Path and Pen. My name is Ryan, the author, and let us begin. Quick disclaimer. This episode is not for the faint of heart. I will get raw and personal with my own stuff and how I am hypocritical, but most importantly, I will be giving you raw information in a fact that may seem like to some a slap in the face or a wake-up call. If you can't take that, then please comment that you are the faint of heart, and I will give you something that is a lot more kinder. But, sometimes I feel like I have to make an episode that is more rude in a sense, but also trying my best to make sure you all reach the potential that you are supposed to reach. So let's begin. So before we get into, Spartan-like stuff, we're going to be going over at least what personally, what no one told me about writing first was, my weaknesses and my strengths. You have to figure that out on your own. And I know you were expecting an episode dedicated to, some tips and tricks. Well, there's going to be some of that, but you'll see. But basically what my problem is, at least with my weaknesses, it is infusing characters. And what I mean by that is third-person omniscient is not directly in the characters. First person and also third-person limited is that. It fits in that category. But basically it's infusing emotions and character thoughts into prose and also pacing. Prose, pacing, basically same thing in a sense. But basically I have a trouble. This is what I mean is, at first glance, let's just say we have a woman that's a war veteran out in this battlefield. She's calm-minded because this is her 20th battle. And even though it's a huge battle, she's calm-minded. Your first thing to make the scene and character thought is to make the characters look like it's chaotic and make the setting strike out more with how calm-minded this character is in this scenario. So there's not going to be very much, M dashes to cut things off. There's going to be a lot calm stuff, and it's going to be very nonchalant in a sense if it's calm. But in hindsight, you 50 feet over, or 50 meters over, you look and you see this dude with he's quivering with an axe, running like a chicken with its head cut off, not hitting anyone with the axe, because he's just trying to survive. And if you go into that thought process of that character, it's going to have a lot of M dashes. It's going to have a lot of winding sentences that really convey the feeling of chaoticness in your story in prose. So that's what I mean by that's my weakness. I know that I explained it pretty well, hopefully, but that is my weakness, because it's easier said to give what my problem is than fix it sometimes. I have fixed it for the most part, but anyway, we're going into more of the raw stuff here. And I know I went over social media, my last thing, but I saw this one YouTube short, and it ruined most of my day. And I still wrote, which will be important later. And it was, of course, I don't like people that give advice that they make it seem like this advice is going to be, for the person watching. I get that is a tactic, but I would rather be raw and honest with my advice and tell you that every single bit of advice I give is supposed to be taken in a subjective manner, because you are not me. I am not you. We write completely different. We are our own different people. We are unique in some sense. So whenever this person said that, instead of writing for a word count each day, write a timer. Personally, I've done a timer. And you know what I did with my timer? I found myself twiddling my thumbs and sometimes zoning out because for a word, it made me a sense of urgency, but for a timer, it felt like a test, right? And I don't like exams. I don't like tests that much. It just felt like something, like it was being forced down my throat. But for words, for me, that felt more, logical for me, and I've tested both of them out, and I figured out which one. So you need to figure out which one it is, or maybe some whole new one. And yeah, but no, that was fun. Okay, I'm fine with that. I've gotten used to people not telling you that all advice is subjective, and you don't have to listen to them. But the other thing was that really I got so super upset was that they said that it's fine if you don't have enough writing motivation for a day you have tomorrow. That is a waste of life. I'm going to get a bit angry here, but that is a waste of life. We are here, whoever religious belief you believe in, okay, but you were put here to, let's just say, make a difference. You were put on here to make a difference, and you can't make a difference without this quote. And it says that I don't care if you're talented. This quote will make the talented work. Talent is nothing without hard work and discipline. And some people are saying that hard work and discipline are the same things. Discipline is doing what you hate and doing it like you love it. Yet people say that they love writing, but normally people hate that first 5 minutes before they get into the groove. So you have to have both of those, especially in writing, because they are required to reach higher heights, and you have to be realistic with yourself and realize that the best things that happen to you in life, my coach once told me this, and he said that the best progress is given on the days you don't want to do it. That is whenever you get that progress that you've been searching for. Or, you can do the famous quote, and it's, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Either one works. I just, you deserve a break, especially if you just finished a draft, especially maybe it's a long chapter, maybe it's an annoying chapter. But if you tell me that you don't have enough time, and I hate saying this because I've seen many people that say they don't have time as a 12-year-old. I don't, I don't try discriminating based off age, but what exactly are you doing? It's summertime. Please enlighten me on what's holding you back from writing besides yourself. And I feel like one of our things in life is that we feel, most people get motivation from trying to prove things to others, which that's fine. But it takes me back to a quote of Rudy. Rudy is a movie about this kid in Notre Dame. He gave up, spoilers, but he gave up like a bit through the movie, and this janitor tells him that the only thing you have to do in life is prove something to yourself, not to the others that doubted you. All you have to do is prove something to yourself. So if you can sleep at night, you know what? I'm just going to tell you this. If you can sleep at night, find that you weren't productive today, and you can sleep at night with that underneath your pillow, that's fine. Then that's fine. That's you, right? But personally, that is not me. If I don't do enough each day, then it's hard for me to sleep because I want to get up and keep on writing or improving in some sense. Now, I don't want you to take this to an extreme. Maybe you can if that's really what you want, of extreme that, you just stay up all day, but that's not possible. For multiple days on end, I mean. But most people are going to tell you, that it's fine if you don't do the work, you earn the break. If you earn the break, search your feelings. If you earn the break, then you are fine. Now, if you don't, then that really gets me upset because you didn't earn. If you didn't finish a draft chapter, whatever, then you don't. I mean, what I mean by that is not writing for that day. So you can stop in the middle of a chapter. I'm not telling you to write a chapter a day, even though that would be pretty cool. I'm saying that you don't write any day, and that you did nothing on writing that day because of the fact that because you just didn't want to do it. Sometimes we have it, but like take one day off. I've seen this many times that you can take one day off, you can take 2 days off. But once it hits that third day, and you take the third day off, I know I've spoken before, how I said that for the month of January 2025, I wrote 50 words that month. Crazy. I wrote 50 words the first day, and I told myself I was going to do more the next. The next day came. I had no motivation because, all these people on social media or whatever are telling me that, you need motivation to write. And so I was like, okay, I'll take this day off. And then the second day came, I take this day off. The third day came, I took that day off. And so I only wrote in one of those days of January. Because I thought that motivation was how you were supposed to write that. And people can give the excuse that is my creative flair, man. Okay, that if you don't have motivation, that you don't have creative flair. But sometimes when we're the most bored or most annoyed, we can figure out the most complex theories and figure out stuff in our story that we would never saw before if we just didn't get off the couch. And I'm going to tell you this, is that if you're one of these people, then please admit to it and strive to be better. I'm not saying go cold turkey and go full on, just, you can ease into it. Just no more than 2 days break. Because there are people out there, especially some well-known writers, that just don't even take breaks. I mean, they're writing for decades sometimes. And you can say that, I'm not that author. Yeah, I know. But you want to be on that level, right? You want to be great. I've already spoke about greatness many times before, but you can't get great if you don't put in the effort. Now, I don't care what you believe, but personally, in my Christian faith, I see people tell me that, God will help me in my faith. No, it's a two-way road with the Lord. So you can speak to him, right? You can read your Bible every single day. But if you're not going to put in the work in what you're doing, then you're never going to get the results you achieved. Another quote is, if you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, Albert Einstein said this, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Expecting different results from laziness in this aspect. Nothing will ever get done if you say, I'll do it tomorrow, if you don't deserve the break. Do you deserve the break? And what I mean by that is with no excuses, with, no, you know what, I'll read instead. That's perfectly fine. I am fine with you reading, but read for half the time and the other half of the time, don't instead of time, it depends on how you write, but just start writing. I'm telling you to go write. After this video, after we go over everything, or maybe right now, you go off, click off, you go right. I want to look at the analytics and see that most people cut off at around, before editing, this is like 13 minutes and 13 and a half minutes. That cut off. That every single viewer plummeted. Now, I don't think most people are going to get to this because normally everyone falls off around the 2-minute mark. But you won't reach new heights if you don't realize there are new heights. You get what I mean? You have to be open-minded to everything. I've said this many times before, but you have to be able to take critique and take that critique and make it your own. And see if that critique, realistically, without any excuses, without you just wanting to be lazy with your work, if that critique will make your story better on how the story you want to tell. Whatever the story you're trying to tell is, will it be better with that critique? With your creative flair added onto that critique? Will it? That's something that you have to ask yourself and that you have to figure out in this writing journey. And I'm going to go over one last thing before this episode ends. And I think what no one else told me about writing is the last thing, that one day can change your life. One habit change can change your life. This goes for anything in writing. If you change one thing, change your writing for better, for worse. I thought that one little change of, spending more time with my other hobbies would work. No, I just had to cut off all my hobbies, and I'll do my hobbies if I have time outside of this. But nowadays, don't have that much time. Don't have that many minutes in a day. I was told when I was younger that by my father that there isn't enough time in a day to do everything you want. So you have to, whether that be planning your day out, whether that is thinking and keeping up a plan in your mind of what you need to do, or whether that is just knowing what you need to do throughout the day and just do it at any time. I'm not saying do it at midnight if you're going to wake up at 6. I'm saying doing it at 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. and going to bed at like 9. So you get good sleep, because another thing is that sleep matters. Sleep does matter. I will say that is that sleep matters for a writer, and whether you have trouble sleeping, that's fine, but it's the thought that counts of you being able to be well rested. You can have more creative flair that way. And if we're tired, then most people find themselves more on the fact of less writing motivation, because we don't have that creative flair yet until they go and sit down and start writing. What no one told me also was what I learned later on was how important a second draft can be. I'm not saying second drafts for me or more drafts are, in a sense, for me. People consider editing their first draft, second draft, and I think that's the main way people think about it. But I think of it, how I wrote my second draft is I have the entire story stuck in my head, right? Like I've said many times before, I don't have notes for my world building plot. It's all just in my head and on my memory. But I just started writing the story again on how now I saw it with my new refined writing style that I learned during draft 1. And so I was able to find my writing style more because I wrote a second draft. But the only reason why I wrote and why I recommend sometimes second drafts is to add scenes that you want to add. And so add all the scenes. Don't add just one scene in the second draft. Just add all the scenes and see how that can loop around your story. And then edit them out if you need to. That's about it. I'm sorry if I hurt anyone's feelings. I'm sorry if you couldn't take it. It's just work needs to be done. And before I close this off, please know that while you're sitting, other people are working. And yeah, don't go too crazy. Keep yourself accountable for your actions. Live life. And yeah. Quite a long one, eh? Thou shalt say that might have been a bit too harsh. But of course I am a moral guy, so maybe some people didn't even find that harsh. But life's going to hit you whether you like it or not. Time's going to pass by whether you like it or not. It's what you do with that time that defines your life. Thank y'all very much for watching. Please comment down below. I am lonely. I need someone to talk to, man. Kidding around. Comment if you want. It is a pleasure to see that you have stayed till the end. And y'all take care. Stay safe. Let's write some words. No, let's not write some words. Let's write a story. My name is Ryan the Author. And this is Path in the Pen. Path in the Pen. Gosh dang. This is Path in the Pen. Thank you very much.